Hey now, cats, we're back again this week on Movie Snobz with my man 50 Grand, Matt Nesty. You know him, you love him. I love him. If I,
Thank you for having me, balls. I love being
well, I wasn't married to Xtina, I'd love him. But
It's the
anywho,
man bun. It gets everybody. It turns
I'm telling you,
everybody.
man, he would be my man crush Monday. But other than that, I have a very special guest today, the Notorious Is, right here. And I have to say, if you're in for the first time or well, I guess this would be the third time. Wow. The whole premise is I'm Balls from Ellwood. I like schlock, horrible, disgusting movies. This is my buddy Matt. He likes, a little more sophisticated film. And he recommends a movie. I recommend a movie. We are both forced to watch it in its entirety, and then we discuss. So this week, I'm going to let this guy right here, I'm going to let him go first. What movie would you like to talk about, sir?
The movie that I would like to talk about that you gave me this week was the movie Zoo, which is a documentary made by a filmmaker, Robinson DeVore. Which, or do you want to say the one you do, or should we go into this whole shit? Because
well, I'm just going to let you rip, man, because you sound like you got a lot to say, and
I have a lot.
Come and see last week, so
and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry for giving you come and see, and I figured that my punishment would be, something. I am very. Oh my goodness! So,
dude, that could have been a lot worse. I thought I took it easy on you, to be honest with
you. So just a brief explainer for this movie, real quick, just for everyone, and just kind of piggybacking off what Ball said. If this is your first time viewing, holy shit, you picked an amazing first episode for us to be talking about. Because goddamn, maybe go back and watch the first two episodes so you know that we're not out of our fucking minds.
You don't need 3 episodes to figure that out.
You're right. You know what? You're definitely onto something. We're out of our fucking minds. Because Balls, my best friend in the entire world, has given me this movie called Zoo, which is a documentary about...
Now, what's this about, Matt? What is this documentary about?
Without mincing words, this was a documentary that was about a special circumstance that happened in Washington State where a man died due to complications from having sex with a horse. The movie... Don't you look surprised, you son of a bitch. You know what you did. The subject matter of this Zoo is an entire documentary that explains the concept of a zoophile, which is someone who is attracted to animals, otherwise known as bestiality, which
you make it sound really, so naughty.
It is very naughty, which I wasn't. It's funny because I remember you you gave me this movie, and it was like I kind of knew what it was like. I kind of got it ruined for me in the description. It like brought up bestiality, and I was like, okay, it's just gonna explore like people going about their day and like coming to terms with this. No, it even took an even further left turn and was about a guy who died from literally letting a horse fuck him. It like killed him. He let a horse have sex with him and he died. Which should not be a surprise to anyone. If anyone has ever wondered what would happen if you let that happen, I would assume that you would just know that it's not good for you.
I think the creepiest part about it is the guy's moniker, Mr. Hands. Why? How? Well, I mean, why? I mean, I have so many questions. Although I've seen this film a few times, I still.
You've seen it a few times.
Well, yeah, it's showing people, if I had somebody at my house
Oh, okay.
at a night of fucking drinking and partying, it'd be like, you got to see this horse fucker documentary, man. Let's check it out.
So I just want to go through. So when I was going through this movie, like I normally do when I'm watching these movies, I like to take notes and I like to I'll think about it and go through these. So my first note that I just wrote down immediately was literally just what the fuck. That was just I normally will never say to you or like while we're recording, like, hey, these are like the little things I have in my literally the only thing I could think in my head for like the first 10 minutes of this like only 75-minute documentary was just what the fuck is going on here. It was such a crazy and here's the crazy part. What a weirdly well-made documentary.
I was actually just going to touch on that. Here's the thing I think that makes this so unnerving. It's shot and scored just like a horror film.
Yeah.
It should be, because it's fucking horrifying.
It had this like crazy disjointed style. It reminded me of a more surreal Errol Morris documentary where there's this like you're messing around with this like narrative, you're showing some fictionalized stuff, but you're never real. Like the only time they ever showed a real interview was literally just from a guy who like had nothing to do with the horse fucking. He was just like an actor guy who was like a part of the movie, and he starts talking about like seeing a kid die just out of nowhere. He's just talking about like holding a dead kid in his hand, and I'm like, is that like a part of this, or is that not any of this? Like, how is this gonna help me take in the horse fucking? Well, this guy is just like, so this kid's in my arms and I'm looking into his dead eyes and I'm like, buddy, why were you holding this dead kid for so long? Like, call for help, put him down. Like, he's like, what are you doing?
That's so that when you're like, this is so depressing, we need to get back to the horse fucking. It makes you beg for horse fucking.
It was like, it was the weirdest, like, which, and again, like, I just got like the horse. I never thought I would say this sentence out loud, but let's put the bestiality aside. Let's forget about the horse fucking.
Just take the horse fucking off the table right now.
Just for a brief moment, let's put that out of our minds. Which I guess isn't even fair to them because it wasn't just horses. They had like cattle. Like they were talking about having like cattle and stuff there. Like they had like little horse, like ponies and stuff or whatever. Like,
oh, dude, that's the thing that sticks out into my mind still. When I think of that movie, the first thing that pops in my mind was that was a true story. When they raided that one compound, the horses were so classically conditioned to give blowjobs that when the police showed up, they're like, oh.
I am so happy you just brought up the phrase classically conditioned, because here's the thing I think that bugged me. Like, this is the thing that bugged me the most is I feel like these were people who were confusing like love, like what love is, what passion is, what this like relationship you can have with another being. I feel like they were confusing those words with like basic psychological conditioning or like reward-based psychology. Like you can train these animals to do just about anything. Like, and if you train them enough and do it enough, they're just going to be accustomed to that. So when strangers show up, of fucking course the horse is going to put its head on your shoulder waiting for you to crank it. Like, that's just what it knows. Like, of course it's doing that to the fucking like police. because it's literally being trained to do that. Like it's not like there's no, you can't have like thralls of passion with an animal. That's, you know, like I get they're not tying them up and they're not like, in air quotations, hurting them, but like, you guys are fucking horses. Like, what's going on here, man?
I tell you what, too, man. I mean, I hear your point about the you know, the whole, you know, misconstrue of love and whatnot, but I also think you're also dealing with people that I think, and I went to school with a lot of these kinds of people. I think it's people that have a hard. I mean, they're socially awkward.
Yeah.
They don't know how to have relationships or deal with people, or they feel that it's such an overwhelming stress and pressure that it's just easier to, you know, to fuck a horse. So I mean, thank you, XD.
It's not even easier. They're like 500 pounds and will murder you. They can.
But here's the thing that always makes me wonder too. Every time I think about that classically conditioned horse blowjob ranch, wow, that sounds like a fucking cartoon. If
Isn't that like your favorite sentence that you've ever said purposely into a camera that is recording your thoughts that you are going to put out in the world? Like,
it's definitely up there. But here's the thing: can you how brave that first horse fucker was when he classically conditions these horses to suck his dick? Okay, can you imagine? Like, how do you even begin that process? Do you know how sharp a horse's teeth is? It'll bite your cock off in one fell swoop. So, like, what do you do? I mean, how you even can you imagine? Like, oh, I practiced with this carrot for a good 4 months, but I'm really hoping Buttercup doesn't bite my fucking dick off when I jam it in her mouth the first time.
I've gone through a lot of carrots and I'm running out of them.
That's what
I
I'm
guess
saying,
we're
man.
gonna have to go for it.
What if it sneezes? I mean, that's a problem. It'll bite your cock right off. I mean, I
It's
think
just like
about when I watch these kind of things, and these are the things why you're one of the only people in the world that will have a discussion with me.
like it's brain like it's such a weird, it was such a weird documentary, and like all the props to the guy who made it for giving, like, and like that's like the thing that like I'm gonna bring up this idea, like, again, put all that stuff aside, like reasonably well made documentary, like seemingly took into consideration like you know, style and you know, actual creativity and dealing with like firsthand sort of information taught. Like, there is nothing more valuable than talking to people with firsthand sort of, you know, they were in the ranch. These were guys who were running the buckets of CDs and tapes, which, first of all, they had buckets of CDs and tapes. Like, how do you have like, how do you have like, not singular, plural? How do you have plural buckets? First of all, I understand the tapes. Tapes you can, but like CDs, like, were they listening? Did they like make mixtapes? Were they like, what? This is like the worst fucking SoundCloud, like, garage band I've ever heard, if those are the CDs they're putting out.
I mean, do you drive on your way to see? You think like me? Are you driving on your way to work with the CD in, and you're hearing, you know, Sugar Cube fucking getting loud, and you're like, wow, this would sound good with a real fucking bomb ass bass.
Listen, I think the most upsetting thing to me about the entire documentary, or about just like the entire circumstance, not even the documentary, is these people just didn't understand that nay means nay. You know, they just yes.
Indeed. I'll tell you what's the most disturbing thing for me, and I'm not sure if you thought this, but there's a part in this documentary where they touch on the advent of the internet and how hard it was for horse to get together beforehand. They'd have to write letters to each other, be pen pals, exchange Polaroids. And then once the internet started, dude, it was fucking game on, man. There's horse fucker. It was like horse fucker central flying in from all over.
I blame the internet. And this is the internet. Like all things, this is the internet's fault. If it wasn't for the internet, these things don't happen, apparently. Like, it's still just it's just like in the shadows, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
How long have they been
much
doing
full
this?
circle, you know. Now they probably have a convention at the Hilton, you know, like welcome horse fuckers, you know, because they have Fit Fest every year. So why not horse fucker? I mean,
Horse
this
fucking
dude was looking for ideas for a documentary. I just pictured a bunch of different things plastered to the wall, and he throws the dart. And he's like, "Horse fuckers, it is," you know, like. And I'm sad he actually never got funding. He tried to raise money for this.
I'm shocked. I am utterly shocked he couldn't get funding for this.
Did you see the setup at the very end? It was supposed to be about dolphin fuckers, man. I feel ripped off now. I want to see what happens.
Was it like a sequel that just won't ever happen? Is that what this is? He's trying to create like
yeah, if you will pay attention to the last frame of the film, he was setting up the sequel that he couldn't get funded. And it was supposed to be about dolphin fuckers. They're like, hey, buddy, if you liked horse fuckers, when do you see dolphin fuckers? You know,
this is like the biggest, like, what if for Marvel's expanding their universe. I feel
Mr. Hands versus the DC universe.
Mr. Hands. What the fuck? What did you?
How did you settle on Mr. Hands?
This is just the most. This literally. I gave you Come and See last week, and I remember you saying to me, "I'll never forget this movie." and I, you know, just
I still think about it, dude. In all honesty,
but I will never stop thinking. Like, I will, as hard as I will try to like forget this movie, as much money as I'll spend talking to a psychiatrist to forget what happened, I'll never forget it. It's gonna stick to me like glue. Like, it's because like these.
Dude, I've seen this movie easily probably 11 years ago, and I still think about it at least every couple weeks.
It's quite like they were so like, this dude is interviewing these people who were in the ranch, and they're talking about this stuff. And I think that's like the other terrifying thing to me is like, they're talking about it so like
nonchalantly.
They're just
like it's actually a normal thing. Like, doesn't
like it's so. I know you're a big South Park guy, but do you remember the Nambla episode from South Park?
Yes.
So like, just for the audience, like in the Nambla episode in South Park, you know, it's the National Association of Man-Boy, they're pedophile, and they give this like at the end of the movie at the end of the show they're being arrested, and the head pedophile gives a speech, a beautiful speech about like love and stuff, and Stan just goes, "But dude, you're having sex with children." So I'm watching this movie and like I'm going through all of these points, and these guys are giving these like real eloquent speeches. They're going on for like 5-10 minutes, and I feel myself like, oh my god, okay, these guys are making some. Wait a minute, you guys are fucking horses. It was fascinating. What another wonderful family film that you should all watch and take in.
Get Nana downstairs.
Bring the family cat downstairs to watch it. They can
gather around the hearth and enjoy a nice.
It's free on YouTube.
Of a man and his horse.
For right now, you could watch the entire movie on YouTube, and so just bring the family. You could all have it. Everyone, since I had to watch it, my recommendation is everyone now needs to watch it, because I need other people to feel what I'm feeling.
See that back to, you're like, well, you've seen this movie more than once. Well, of course, because like when you explain it to people, you gotta, it's almost like the tape in The Ring, where like it keeps spreading like a virus. 7 days, horse fucker. No.
It's just a horse climbing out. It's climbing out.
I guarantee you won't leave with a long face. I'm kidding, but
oh my god.
But anyway, on a lighter note, I want to talk about a bloody tale of brutality, gang violence, and betrayal. Which, after a horse crew movie. That sounds like a step up to me. But, I mean,
We're going from horse fucking to British Shakespeare,
yeah,
violent British Shakespearean.
I have to say, dude, you hit another home run. I super fucking enjoyed Green.
What's the title of the movie, real quick, for the
It is
audience?
Green Street Hooligans. And I'd have to say, you already had it was one of those films that I'd actually heard of, and I've heard people speak really highly of. I don't know how it went under my radar so long because I'm a super huge Elijah Wood fan, and that's one of the few things that I've never seen him in that I hear people talk about a lot. Dude, I fucking loved it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried like a little bitch at the end. I'm not gonna.
Yes,
I had some big fat guy tears rolling down, and I wasn't even ashamed. So. But what
it's a beautiful ending. It's one of the most.
I like. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dude.
Oh no, I was just saying, like the one of the most beautiful endings. But go into it. Go into it. We'll get to it. We'll get to the ending.
First of all, I mean the only thing it took me a little while. Like I'm usually pretty exposed to British film, but they really had such a thick accent. I really had to kind of concentrate in the beginning, and then it kind of became more fluid. That was really the only hard thing for me. But but then once I adjusted, it was just like when you're watching subtitles, it just kind of became fluid. But god damn, dude, what an amazing movie. I mean,
you were almost like, I mean, it's almost like that was like the beautiful thing about Elijah Wood's character in there is you almost got to experience, especially as someone, because like that's a movie. First of all, that's literally one of my favorite movies ever. Out of everything that I've seen since I saw that movie for the first time when I was in like 7th grade, 8th grade, what is that, like 13, 14?
Yeah, I would say.
I've seen a lot of movies since then. That I will come back to that movie at least twice a year just to watch it, just to feel it. Like there is something about it that has this, like, I don't know why I connected to it so like viscerally.
I think the strongest thing is the character development. I love movies that takes their time and develops and lets you actually flesh out and know a character and get to know them. And a lot of movies don't do that. So I think when you see that, it's a really special thing. And in the beginning, I mean, I love film for that reason. In the beginning, you meet these characters and you're like, they're total fucking scumbags. How am I ever gonna like these assholes? At the end of the movie, I'm like,
yeah, you see them, you're like, oh, they're just common street thugs. They're just dicks.
yeah. And then you actually get to know pretty much all of them, really. And I'll tell you what, the scene that sticks out in my mind the most, and I think the most like important thing to me was you're seeing all this violence throughout the whole movie. To the point you're pretty much desensitized to it because it's such a big part of the film. But before they actually come to the third act, the thing that was most interesting to me was when everybody's getting ready for that last act, you see every single person, and you see that morning how they're preparing in their normal everyday life and how they're hoping to go deal with this last act. And that to me is brilliant.
And they're with their families.
Yes, you see like just their normal everyday life and what they're doing. And then you see, pretty much what they're feeling and how they're preparing mentally to go do this. And that spoke volumes to me for sure.
And I mean, after that, so like everything that leads to that point, finally realizing who the major is, finally realizing like what this is. You hear the story of why he left, which that is one of my favorite things. That is like one of my. It got there so naturally, like you said, and then by the time you're getting the story where Steve, where the major's saying, where he's telling the story of his last fight, where we just showed this guy brought his kid to the grounds and they beat us and they were having at us and we just went at him, not caring that his kid was with him, and the kid died under our boots. Like he died, he got stomped in, and like that, those feelings, it was like a slingshot seeing what this guy was living with beforehand. Like that was one of my favorite reveals of like, here's this family guy, okay, a little hothead, but like it's not too much. You have this like real quaint little story, this beautiful kid, like this perfect, this almost perfect like family life. And then seeing him deal with that struggle of having a kid killed, him pleading with Tommy Hatcher, like in the bar, like Tommy Hatcher screaming, went off and married a Yank, did you? I just son of your own, did you? Like that shit was so fucking gut wrenching. Like
Oh yeah.
That was like traumatizing seeing that the first time as a kid. Like shit was wild.
And I'm always a sucker for somebody that turns their life around, and you know, especially through extreme circumstance, and just you know, whenever you know what I'm talking about. Well, I mean,
He wanted, yeah.
when he gets stabbed, dude, I completely lost my shit. I was like,
Like this is someone who clearly wants so bad to move on from this, for everyone to walk away, for everyone to just say this is ridiculous. You see him pleading for his life,
yeah,
but there's consequences to the actions. There's still that history. There's still that context that drives Tommy Hatcher. Like it's so fucking dark. It's so goddamn dark.
and I'm watching this too, actually, much like Zoo, but I mean, you can't really compare the two, but it brought up so many questions in my mind, like because I'm always fascinated with people that get affiliated, like in gang violence and with gangs and the getting there. Like, I mean, a lot of people, I think that I think they have that piece missing where they might not have family or friends or people they connect to, and that I do sort of think like that's kind of a predisposition that they look for, and they try to attract people like that for that reason. But I mean, what I liked about this film is you see every aspect of getting caught up in that kind of world, and like you said, the consequence that you pay for it. And I mean, because you always whenever you see shit like this in the news, or you ever see like something like that, you're like, how could they have gotten involved in that? And like, what I liked about this is you've seen the fruition from beginning to end of exactly
you as the viewer, you almost become a part of the Green Street elite. You go through the steps with Buckner, with
that's what I mean. Yeah, like with him, I mean, you've seen him from the very beginning, a complete novice that's doesn't know how to fight, is pretty much a pussy, and then by the end, he's a fucking badass, man, and he's embroiled in this life that he probably forgot.
The lot, like the monologues, the voiceovers that they would do of Elijah Wood, of Matt Buckner coming to terms with this. The one line that I always think about even to this day is when he's like, when you realize you're not made of glass. When you realize
when you take a couple punches and you realize you're not made of glass.
And then you just keep coming back for more. You can just keep coming back. Like it was such a beautiful thing to watch that happen. And what was your outside? So we got to just talk about the end in isolation anyways, but like, what was your favorite fight? What was like the one that got you juiced the most?
I thought the fight choreography was pretty frenetic, and I think most of it was most of it had that feeling. But if I had to pick one that I thought was, I wouldn't say it got me juiced, but I think for the last one was the most important to me because of the impact. I mean, the message. I mean, they all kind of get you like that's
each one has this like build, this like crazy like. It starts kind of subtle and it's normal, and then it's just a gradual increase of like violence, of stakes, of conflict. Like it's nuts.
And I love films that are violent, but then at the end there's a payoff for a reason. And I definitely feel that ending had that strong message of look how stupid for nothing all this is. You
His
know,
life taught me there's a time to stand your ground, and his death taught me there's a time to walk away.
yeah, brilliant.
God damn, dude. And like in it all coming full circle, with which by the way, Jeremy Van Holden was Terrence J, the man responsible for such a beautiful fucking score, the entire movie and the final song, which is always the funniest thing to me watching that, because like I see him, he's like, oh, it's an asshole. It's like, oh, this is also just an insanely talented musician. Like, just the final, like the full circle of this movie coming around with like Elijah Wood combining his intellectual mind, his savviness, the thing, like this way that I can stand up for myself, but it doesn't have to be violence. He got this kid admitting that these were his drugs. And then
and I like how he pulled his punch too. That was awesome.
Yep, he showed him it was more powerful than beating 7 shades of shit out of him. It sent a more beautiful, like it was so. It's such a beautiful movie, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's funny, man. After I shot, I was like, God damn, was that a fucking good movie? And like, I've heard people rave about it for a long, long time.
It's the beginning of Charlie Hunnam. Without this movie, Kurt Sutter never cast him for Sons of Anarchy. That is like one of my favorite IMDb like trivia things, because he literally showed up out of nowhere in this thing and just was like, okay, here's what the most badass but like kindest, most genuine, gentlest human could look like. It was a masterclass. It was an absolute masterclass in acting.
I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I like I said, it's such a rare thing to see slow and delicious character development. Like, because in an age of, yeah, I'm pretty, I'm pretty burnt out, like on American films. So I mean, I like foreign films for that sensibility. Like American films almost seem very hollow to me at this point, and it's more style over substance and blah 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 blah. But like when I see something special like that, like it makes my my spider sense tingle.
Yeah, that we're talking about bestiality in the last one.
Now that's supposed to be a trilogy. The third one was Spider Fuckers. So.
God damn it, Paul.
See, blame Indiegogo, man.
You can't pawn this off on Indiegogo. But no, dude, like this was. It was another fun week of like two completely like absolute opposite ends of the spectrum type of movies. You know, it's one of my favorite things about like the way that we structure this podcast, and like what we do is like, even if you're watching things that are so opposed to each other stylistically or like content wise, or there's always a way to like, you know, have these pretty in detail conversations, find ways to talk
bridge
about
the gap.
Yeah, bridge the gap. Find these ways to understand that like maybe the answer to what making a good movie is being willing to take risks, being willing to tell story, not being afraid of violence, not being afraid of profanity or being afraid of horse fucking, you know, like just don't be afraid to tell.
I don't know, dude. I'd probably be afraid of horse fucking if I was you. I mean,
I mean, metaphorically.
Kind of terrifies my penis, but I mean,
Listen,
I don't know what you're into, you sick twist.
Metaphorically speaking,
Oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah, look, we're going
Calm
to
down, Mr. Hands.
from a philosophy. We're talking about the philosophy, of course.
Did you ever think in a million years you'd be saying this right now? No, balls. I'm talking about the philosophy of horse fucking.
I hate that that's where it goes. But it's one. It's what makes. So we're talking about not being afraid to do things and telling unique stories and doing unique things. That's what we're doing unique here on Movie Snobz.
I know. I feel like we're doing God's work, don't you?
I think so, and we are doing God's work, and we
are one movie at a time.
One movie at a time. Somebody has to do the work, and we're the ones who are going to do it. And you can join our church of movie snobbery. It's just the only way that we can be tax exempt. So just don't tell anyone. So
go on the dark web if you want to talk about that shit.
Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of interesting people there. You're kidding.
Yeah, I mean, the world is your oyster.
Maybe they'll ask you to come to a ranch, and you'll hang out with them, and then they'll make fancy margaritas, and
maybe you'll
bring you into the stable.
Yeah,
we got back to zoo. We're talking about we got back to zoo. Son of a bitch.
It's infectious, but I no, seriously, dude. In all honesty, I have so much fun this with you, and you know why? I would do this every week just to hear your expressions, just to hear your feedback on anything that I give you. I would gladly do it for all eternity because your expressions make me laugh so much. Like I'll watch these shows back just to see your expressions sometimes. It makes me piss my pants. So it's such a thrill to me.
Well, this is I can
not
tell
as
you
much as horse fucking, but it's definitely a thrill.
Stop it, you fucking son of a bitch. Oh my god. Well, this gave me a lot. This week gave me a lot to think about, balls, and I hope Mr. Frodo and his British friends with who are big fans of West Ham United. I hope they gave you something to think about, man.
I did, man. I have to say, I gotta say, I appreciate the recommendation. I super loved it. I give it 2 balls up for sure.
That's the OnlyFans account that we're going to make next. That's going to be you get to actually see the 2 balls up review now.
Details. I would totally do that too, by the way. If it was lucrative in some way, I'll show my nuts. I don't care.
Oh, it's Luke. Oh, balls. There's a market for it.
I'm sure there's plenty of video floating around the information superhighway that already. So I mean,
we're missing out, and it's one of the best ways that we could end Movie Snobz is a very in detail business plan for how we can crack the market in a Movie Snobz OnlyFans account where we can find our people, So
now
that's something to think about. Movie Snob fans, if you want to see an OnlyFans account from us and read the 2 balls up review on Green Street Hooligans, let us know.
I almost feel like, dude, it has to be equal. So I'd have to put 1 ball in, and you'd have to put 1 ball in.
Oh yeah, of course, it's a team effort. You can't just
dude. I don't want your testicles to feel left out. So
no, and no one should. That's the thing that we learned this week.
We're a team here, man. There's no I in the word team. There's also no I in the word horse fucking either.
I am just never going to be able to sleep again.
The score alone terrifies me, dude. Like, is there a scarier score to a horse fucking documentary? It has to be seen to be believed.
I don't think you can have a happy score to a horse fucking documentary.
I'm not asking for a happy score.
Now that you've seen a Jacques Tati movie, this will be funny to you. Imagine the tone shift of like a Jacques Tati score going on during the horse fucking documentary.
I almost feel like we need to redub it just to see the results. It might be.
You got Hula looking around. He's like, I showed up at the wrong farm.
Dude, at the end, it might be the feel-good picture of the century if you redub it with that. I was wrong. I never realized horse fucking was so happy-go-lucky. I mean, where was I at?
Well, they would change that legislation so fast.
I almost feel like I have to do that now. That might be a project of mine.
Fucking a horse.
You know what? We could do that.
Not fucking a horse. I mean, redubbing the Thanks. I like how there's. I liked how the
Zero benefit of the doubt at all.
I like how the peanut gallery. There's not even like any thought in her head that's like, no, my husband's not a dirty horse fucker. That would never happen. It's like, it was like that's something you would totally do. I mean, you know, there's.
You have watched the documentary a couple of times, Paul.
Oh, what do you think all the milk crates in the backyard was for? No,
The special crates that you can't drink, and when you do, they taste really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, dude, on that note, is there really any reason to go any further?
Yeah, no, I just don't think there's any other way to end it. You know,
I feel like we pretty much covered every base. So that's it this week for another interesting episode of Movie Snobz. Please feel free to check out the films Zoo and Green Street Hooligans. And then maybe you can make a friend and you can discuss as well. Or if you want to actually, you know, talk to us, leave some comments below. Tell us your thoughts on horse fucking or, you know, let us know. So, week, I'm Boss from Ellwood. It's my man, 50 grand. Matt, oh, nasty if you're nasty. And we will see you next week. Peace and love.